Welcome, all my listeners to Simply Winning episode 4 with none other than my very good friend Travis Clarke. Travis Clarke is a productivity coach, top producing real estate agent. Let me define productivity coach. He has 120 agents and 20 mentors that he is responsible for getting them a proper start as real estate agents and coaching and transitioning them through multiple transactions. He previously was a collegiate soccer coach for 18 years. We had an opportunity to work together closely every day, and I really enjoyed that time we spent together. Thank you for taking the time to hop on with me today, and let's take it back to the beginning. Where did Travis Clarke grow up, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I was born in San Luis Obispo, and my dad went to Cal Poly and met my mom, and after that, we kind of were moving back and forth between San Luis Obispo, La Cañada, Santa Barbara, and I ended up in Atascadero, California, for junior high and high school, but all the way up until that point, it was a combo of La Cañada, San Bernardino. La Cañada, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo, and then ended up kind of on the central coast in Atascadero.
So I know you as a very hardworking guy. You're one of the hardest working people that I know. Um, where do you think in your childhood was that kind of instilled in you?
Yeah, it. I sent a text message to my uncle the other day, who used to be a real estate agent in San Luis Obispo. He was like a top producing agent with Century 21. He also was a general contractor. And so I kind of grew up around this very blue collar, very successful general contractor who was also a real estate agent, like a top producing real estate agent. And here's somebody who has, a multi-million dollar house, in the Pismo Beach, Arroyo Grande Hills, kind of overlooking Pismo, and he purchases used cars, to drive around. Like, he doesn't have a fancy car, he doesn't spend money on super expensive things. He's a really like humble, hardworking, blue collar guy. And I started working for him, doing like odd and end kind of handyman projects when I was right out of high school, and that was kind of my start for it because he held me to a really high standard. In addition, I did join the military, and I was in the Navy for 4 years, and I'm just such a competitive person that being in that environment and being pushed to certain high standards, trying to be the best that I could be every day, as a requirement, kind of led to it. So it was a combination of my uncle Tom McNeil, who just, I saw develop this really fantastic life and of abundance. Like, now all he does is go on vacations because he worked so hard when he was younger, trying, to build this thing and save money and work hard and not cut corners and provide his clients with this amazing experience. And I just saw it firsthand, and I'm just trying to copy it. Really is what I'm trying to do. When I close transactions or win an award or have some sort of success, I mean, he's the first person that I send a message to, and because I'm kind of competing against him, right? I mean, I'm trying to win as many awards as him or close as many transactions in a year as him, and I've just set him as my standard, and he's also my biggest cheerleader now, right? I think he wants me to pass him, right? So that's kind of how I got this thing started.
Yeah, and we talked about one of your early mentors in real estate was a guy named Jason Moon, I believe, and how you worked really hard to try and catch him. It sounded very similar to the way you described your relationship with your uncle.
Yeah,
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? We have never gone into too much depth about that, but I remember you celebrating the fact when you had closed more units than Jason.
yeah. So he was my productivity coach. And I also had a direct mentor, Janelle Pelosi, which she is one of the mentors in our coaching program now. And yeah, Jason was my productivity coach, and he's somebody that gets to the office at 8:30 in the morning. He's fully dressed like as a professional real estate agent. He's got his office, his full-time admin assistant, and he's 6'4" or something. He just looks the part. You know what I mean? And on top of that, right, his conversations or scripts, his ability to navigate in and out of conversations and objections is just high end, right? And in the Walnut Creek area, I think he got close to $1 million of GCI, and you got to think up in that area, the average price point that he deals with might be 700K. So to get all the way to $1 million GCI, for him, it's a lot of transactions and a lot
Can
of
you
work.
share with the listeners what is GCI?
Gross commission income.
Okay,
And
so that's how much commission he made.
Correct. Yeah. And so he started real estate 5 or 6 years before me, so he had this huge head start on me. His business was already created, and after I graduated the coaching program and then started growing my own business, him and I have became really close. We've actually done a couple co-transactions together. And I interviewed to be on his team a couple times. We just couldn't come to terms, right, on it. But he's the one person that I'm chasing. And in 2024 or 25, one of those years, I was ahead of him in GCI and units until like the last 15 days. And it's funny because him and I will check the top down list and kind of compare where each of us are, right, throughout the year now. And he called me and he's like, hey, just let you know, I have 4 transactions closing in the next couple days. And I ran the numbers and I'm like, damn, he's gonna pass me. Right. But I was ahead of my productivity coach for like a majority of the year. It's just he just closed out kind of really hard. His business is amazing.
What does your coffee
Go ahead.
What does your coffee cup say?
Coffee is for closers. I try to start my day with this because if I get on a Zoom call, I could see this. Plus, everyone else can see it.
That's a good point. You probably walk around town with that.
I do. I want to make sure.
Take it to the gym. Set it on the treadmill. Let's talk about what the military taught you. I mean, and so the theme of this podcast is that simple things generate massive results, but that it is very challenging to make your thinking simple. It takes a lot of work to clean your mind to make it simple. And I believe military life, having never served, is probably a good example of that. So what, looking back, 50 years ago, no, you're not that old. Looking back, what was the big takeaway from your experience, those 4 years of your life?
So just to give a little bit of a backstory on this, because it'll help me explain it. When I graduated high school, I graduated with like a 2.5 GPA. I was kind of one of the popular kids in school, so the whole party high school scene, that was kind of my thing, right? Going to football games, hanging out with friends. Academics, not like a huge thing. I was barely skating through. I remember waking up one morning, I'm 18 years old. I'd been graduated from high school for a couple months, and like where I woke up, at like a friend's house after a party, and I was just like laying there, and I'm in this town, Atascadero, this small little town. I'm like, my God, I have got to get out of here. I just had this I have got to get out of here, right? And without telling anyone, without telling my girlfriend at the time, without telling my brother, sister, mom, dad, anybody, I got in my car, I drove down to San Luis Obispo, walked into the Navy recruiting station and signed up, right? Came home, told my mom, I leave in 3 weeks, right? And they just, and I got on the bus 3 weeks later and left. And I had a long-term girlfriend, family, entrenched in the community. I just knew I had to get out of town and do something. And I remember when I was in boot camp, which was insane considering it was in Chicago. It was 2 feet of snow. We're hiking around, marching around. It was a nightmare, right? I was sending letters like, Mom, get me out of here. Like, do something to get me
I
out of
can't
here.
do this.
Yeah,
I just wanted to stop drinking and partying in
I
this little
know.
town.
Yeah, you know. Um, and I remember there was this one. I was sitting in one of the classes, and there was this woman, and she like handed me a note or something, and she said, "Hey, I think you're cute," or something like that. And I took the note and I read it, and the guy saw me read it, and so he took her and I, and they call this like nighttime physical training or PT or something, and they brought us into this room, and they had one of their drill sergeants like make us do like up downs and push-ups or whatever, and their goal was to make the ceiling drip. Like they wanted sweat dripping off the ceiling, like to show us, pay attention in class. This is not a joke. That was like my defining moment, that this stuff is serious, right? Like someone hands you a note, and at 2 a.m. I'm training for 5 hours. It was wild, right? And when I realized like I couldn't get out of it, that I had signed up, that I was committed to it, it was like halfway through I just had decided, you know what? I'm just going to be the best at it, right? I'm going to be the best at it. I'm going to graduate first in my class, right? And so I did. I graduated as the top person in the boot camp class. I went to my A school in Virginia Beach. I graduated number one in the class. Why I wanted to graduate number one in the class was, if you graduate number one in the class, you can pick where you want to go. And I still had the same girlfriend, right? So I'm like, I got to get California. That's where I got to get. So I graduated number one. I picked San Diego. At least I'm in driving distance, right? And, I think the military taught me accountability. I can't get away from things. I can't get in my car and leave. I have people above me that have authority over me, and there's clear expectations. Like if you show up if a meeting starts at 0800 and you show up at 0801, like you are in trouble, right? 1 minute late. Even in our business, like people can kind of cruise around late a little bit, right? But I think I
Yeah,
went I went through this whole 4 year cycle with like intense accountability, and it was at the end of the Gulf War. So not only that, but we were in the Persian Gulf doing operations in general quarters, like real life, scary stuff. And I think it just entrenched in me this level of accountability and like what you have to do when everything's on the line. And I've just kind of carried that through in my whole life, whether I'm a college soccer coach or a real estate agent. That's just a story not many people know about me, right?
you
But
know,
I
you know
was
what's
trying to
inter,
win there.
yeah, that's a reoccurring theme for you for sure.
Hmm.
What's interesting about that story, because you and I worked together for about 6 months or so to start productivity coaching here in the Bay Area. But I think if we asked the agents who worked with us, I was the hard nosed
Hmm.
accountability one, and you have a very gentle, patient demeanor with these new agents, and it's kind of incredible based on what you just shared, right? Because you hold yourself to this very high standard of accountability, but you're very patient as a coach, and I admire that about you. Where do you think that comes from? How do you? I mean, it's an incredible gift that you have. I think it's one of your strengths for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And so my stepdad, his name's Greg Herring. He owns a company called Superior Performance Coaching. Maybe that could be a guest for you as well. I'll connect you. But he runs a coaching business for like athletic coaches, and he focuses a lot of his training in and around using disc profiling and communication with people, right? And understand that there's the four communication styles, right? DISC, or you have director, relator, socializer, like those. There are four types of people. I realized like what I was like. I'm a high D. I'm a pusher. I'm a winner. I'm trying to win. like don't get me bogged down in a bunch of details. Like just put me out there, I'll sell it, those types of things, right? And I started my coaching career like that as well. I was just bulldozing through everyone, right? And Greg sat me down and he's like, and he's a thinker, right? He's a high intellect. It's like he's a moving, walking spreadsheet, right? Basically, right? And it's why I partner, say, with Chelsea or Vershali, who are also those types of people, right? Because they complement me really well. But he sat me down and he had almost like a come to Jesus moment. Like, Travis, you're going to get fired as a college soccer coach right now unless you change your communication style or understand who you're talking to on the other side. And he trained me for several years on how to know what the other person is thinking or wanting or what kind of style of communication they give. And so I think, Garrett, what I've been able to do is kind of step almost out of my skin, right? And then look in and see who I'm talking to and then adjust to the room. If I'm in a room with somebody who's just like me and a high pusher, high D that, is really aggressive, I can jump in that room. If it's somebody who's really relatable, social, loves just conversations, kumbaya, hugging, I can jump in that room. So I think Greg has really helped me adapt my communication style, almost like a chameleon, I guess, right? Where, I can see who I'm talking to and then make adjustments accordingly instead of just bulldozing through people. That was the biggest kind of come to Jesus moment that I had earlier on.
So with that change and being addressed, your communication style needing to change, or you weren't going to be able to continue to coach
Hmm.
young people,
Hmm.
you know, predominantly females, right in the later part of your coaching career.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Hmm.
Um, what was the significant impact that you saw changing as your communication style went from being this bulldozer to a more empathetic style and more, I'll say, listening to understand, and and you went about things probably completely differently than what you had been. What did you see? The question is, what did you see the impact? How did you notice the team dynamics shift as you, as the leader of the team, shifted?
Yeah, and I'll start by saying I've had some really, really successful seasons as a college soccer coach, like high end. I've had some failure seasons as well. I think a lot of coaches go through the same thing. I think with me, Garrett, the biggest like eye-opening thing for me that really, really helped me was the idea of self-awareness, right? Like understanding the impact that you're having on somebody. Understand the tone of your voice and what impact that's having. Are you being scary or motivational? Do you want people? Are people going to follow you or are they going to run away from you? When the season's over, are they going to transfer because they hate you, right? Or are they going to invite you to their wedding, right? It's self-awareness. So that was my biggest thing, and I think I do that in real estate right now. I have a high level of self-awareness, right? And I'm also really open to constructive criticism. And you've given me constructive criticism before, right? You can say, Travis, you're doing this way. I think it would be better if you did it this or whatever that scenario might be. We did a listing together. We had open conversations all the time. I'm pretty good at taking in feedback, having a high level of self-awareness, and then understanding that I might need to change or adjust to have a more successful outcome. And that was the thing. I think there's a lot of coaches that have a high ego. It's either my way or the highway, right? If you're managing 30 student athletes and 3 full-time coaches, my way or the highway might not work for everyone. And I think it's the same in this coaching program, right? It's the same on my team. It's the same with anyone I work with. And self-awareness is the key, man. That's you got to have that if you're going to work with and network with people.
I think you're very flexible. I think, probably not physically. I, I've seen
No,
you
not
move,
not
not
as much
physically,
anymore. Yeah.
but but yeah, come to think of it, it was it's probably one of your greatest strengths is I watched you work with many new agents, and for those of us, for those of you listeners that don't understand, all sorts of walks of life get their real estate license. And it's an independent contractor license, and they come into this business and they have their own ideas and they have their own experiences, and some have phenomenal skill sets and others really don't know the first thing about the job. And the way that you were able to help those people feel supported, and it comes down to the two things that we've talked about already. It comes down to, one, your work ethic, you're available, and you get in the boat with these agents and make them feel seen and heard. And then the other is you're flexible and you're patient with them. Um, let's move into this transition for you. So you coach in soccer for 18 years, and you have an idea that, you saw your uncle's success with real estate. And so I'm assuming that planted a seed for you. And you're also very hands-on when it comes to selling a house, in terms of getting in there and doing the work yourself, whether it's painting or your favorite garage floor. What's it called?
I have skills, Garrett. Yeah.
You have skills. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. my
No
uncle,
doubt.
remember, I learned everything from a general contractor / realtor. So now at least you know where all these skills come from. Right?
Thank goodness. It's finally, yeah, I thought it was YouTube. I really did.
No, no, I got real skills, Garrett. Yeah.
So, but you get to a point in soccer. Do you have like this jumping off moment? Maybe you get fired. I don't know. I don't know what happened, right? When you decided, like, this is it. I can't coach anymore. I'm going to do this. Can you share what was that like?
Yeah. So, I started in soccer, as a club soccer coach. Then I became a junior college coach. Then I became a Division II women's soccer coach. Then I became a high-end Division II soccer coach. Then I went into Division I, and like the fourth highest conference in the country, right? Like, from where I started to where I ended up, it was incredible that I could get to that mountain. I was coaching games at BYU in front of 10,000 people, coaching against Jen Rockwood, and the starting center forward was Ashley Hatch on the BYU team, who's the starting center forward on the women's national team. I was coaching in those environments. So to go from Santa Barbara City College as an assistant coach to being a head coach, coaching games on BYU TV that's broadcast worldwide, it's like I'd already won. Like, that was it for me. I'd made it to the top, right? There's nowhere else that I could go, or that I was even qualified to go. There's like this certain level where there's just people that are better than you at it, right? I was really good at it, but there's levels to this thing, right? And also, in all honesty, I'd started to not enjoy coaching anymore. College athletics is it's brutal, with kids these days, kids jumping around from club team to club team, kind of the lack of commitment, I think. Now you have this transfer portal stuff going on. You probably follow it with football and kids going to 4 different colleges along the way. And that was kind of just starting when I exited the Division I level. And when I left St. Mary's, all of a sudden COVID hit. So I had this, like, do I continue coaching, right? Do I want to go coach at a D3 school or a D2 school? But I had been talking to my uncle and my brother, who is also a real estate agent. And, I was making, I don't know, $125,000 as the head coach at St. Mary's, living in Pleasanton. I thought it was like a great life, right? And my uncle he was on the phone with me. He's like, Travis, I mean, if you actually get your real estate license, I think you can, like, change your life, right? And so I just dove into it, rolled the dice, didn't pursue any other coaching jobs. And then, Garrett, I got my first check. It was the first time I'd had $25,000 at once, right? Like, did you have that experience when you got into real estate? It's like, oh my God, that's a big check. I can't even spend all this fast enough, right?
My experience was different than yours.
And, so I got the first deal, and before I'd even spent $3,000 of my $25,000, I got another one, and then another one, and then it just started snowballing for me, right? And I was able to use all of the skills that I had developed as a college soccer coach and transition it directly into real estate. Because I'm selling a student athlete and their family Cal State San Bernardino. I'm in the living room with the family recruiting the student athlete. The boyfriend is in there. The grandparents are in there. The parents are in there. The student athlete's in there. I have to convince all of them that Cal State San Bernardino or St. Mary's is the place that they should go for 4 years, right? Sometimes as walk-ons. And I thought, if I could convince a female student athlete to go to Cal State San Bernardino instead of UC San Diego, I could do anything. Right? I could literally do anything. And my ability to communicate and talk and sell, I was already doing that in coaching college athletics. Yeah, I could have transitioned, Garrett, into pharmaceutical sales and probably had a similar level of success. I think because of the skills that I developed as a college soccer coach. Also, being a college soccer coach, I think when I left St. Mary's and I was trying to create my LinkedIn profile or my new resume based on college athletics. I'd only been a college soccer coach my whole life. I had no other skills. And I sat down with somebody who was a professional resume builder, right? And she's like, well, what did you do at St. Mary's? I said, well, I had 3 full-time employees. And she's like, great. So she wrote, managed 3 full-time employees. I said, well, I fundraised a lot. She's like, great. And then she wrote, responsible for $50,000 a year of fundraising. I'm like, great, I did community service. And so she broke down all of the things that I was doing inside of my coaching job that had nothing to do with coaching, right? And then I started to realize like the skills that I had developed in this other business or other field, right, were definitely relatable, right? That could transition me, a lot of the same skills, right? Managing expectations, community service, fundraising, those types of things. For us, it's community involvement, right? That I'm really big in farming and I, communicate a lot, have a lot of community activities, those types of things. I was doing that to sell St. Mary's camps to Moraga, to the city of Moraga, right? So all of these things were transferable for me. And I think why I haven't got back into coaching full time, right now I'm an assistant. But just why I haven't got back into coaching full time is, real estate just snowballed for me a little bit in a positive way. And I really enjoy helping coaching in real estate and changing people's lives while at the same time changing my life and my family's life as well.
Okay, let's play a little game. I'm a new real estate agent, and I'm entering the Travis Clarke Productivity Coaching Program,
Okay.
also known as the Real Estate Collective. I haven't plugged that yet.
Thanks for the plug.
So you're welcome. So I enter that program, and I'm new to real estate, right? I just got my license. I'm really excited to get started. What advice would you give me, and what direction are we rolling out for me to get a closing, hopefully in my first 90 days?
I would say keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. When you just get started, unless you're you're not really going to be super great or fantastic at being a cold caller, because you just might not be able to answer the questions. Although some people are good at that. I would say most new agents, their first transactions come directly from their sphere of influence or like working an open house. That's kind of like those are the 2 easiest ways. So when you first get started, don't chase the shiny objects. Don't, buy leads from Zillow. Don't buy leads from realtor.com. Don't buy this or that or the other thing, right? Sit down with whoever's in charge of your database management in your market center and make sure that all of your contacts are in your CRM and that you have some sort of plan or setup that you're reaching out. And this is sphere of influence, people who might do transactions with you, right? And then create a plan to follow up with those people that you can be consistent over a period of time. Because now you have to put these people in your mind's eye or their mind's eye, right? If they think real estate, I want them to think Travis Clarke or whoever this new agent is. And then second, right, grind. right? I talked to my class last night, Garrett, that I run into a lot of real estate agents that aren't willing to do what I was willing to do. Okay. And there's a lot of agents that I've worked with that say, oh, you know what? I only want to work in Milpitas. And so I don't want to do an open house if it's out of Milpitas. Well, dude, you haven't done a deal yet. You have zero credibility as an agent to your people. You need to do transactions, right? And so what I was telling people last night is like, be open to expand. If you have an opportunity in Livermore, that's a really good opportunity, or a showing or whatever, but you live in San Jose, be open to it. Do transactions where the opportunities come, and as you start to do transactions, then kind of blend it into your area. But to answer your question completely, it's your database and your contacts, and then just grinding as hard as you can and taking advantage of any opportunity that you have, and then slowly grow your credibility as an agent.
Do you know the statistic for new agents to still be practicing real estate within 2 years?
It's less than 30%. I know that.
It's
I know that
very
only
challenging.
1 or 2% become like kind of like you and I, right? 1 or 2%, and then say 25% just do like one deal or two deals. But I know it's 70%, right, of all agents didn't do a single transaction last year, I think is the number. If I'm,
Uh-huh.
it's a high failure
You
rate.
taught me something with when you were discussing in this call about breaking down your collegiate coaching experience and then working with somebody to get the LinkedIn profile to kind of connect these dots. And I always felt so my background was strength coach, personal trainer, and I got to work with high school athletes at the end of my personal training career. I always knew that there were all these similarities between helping people in real estate and what I was doing there, but I never broke it down the way that you discussed. But I think what the big the big thing that you and I both came into this profession with was we understood how to show up for other people in situations that they either had some fear, some apprehension, it's like they knew something but they didn't know enough. And so, I mean, our job is to just basically show up and educate and try to understand them the best we can. And as good a salesperson as you are, we're never convincing anyone to buy a house or sell a house. They've made that decision already. And we are working with them through an emotional time in their life where they will have these ups and downs based on how the transaction is working out and what's going on in their personal life. I mean, I'm sure we both had a number of clients where we'd worked with them for a number of months and then we discovered something that we didn't know because we didn't either ask the question or they didn't share it. And it was a big determining factor in what their capabilities were for either for making a purchase or selling a home. Um, but that's what makes our job beautiful, right? Because
Yeah.
it's different and it's dynamic and there are so many different ways in which we can be successful. Um, let's talk about how your relationship is with the mentors in your coaching program and how that provides you probably some leverage so that you're able to be a great coach, support 120 plus agents, and also have a terrific real estate business. The Real Estate Collective is a group of agents, and you guys do a tremendous job. So, what is the relationship like with those mentors, and how do you see their impact as kind of a trickle down from what you're doing?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because, the general manager and, one of the owners, Eric Bradley, who has kind of taken me under his wing a little bit here, and Kat Musso Lewis, the team leader for Cupertino and and Elevate, the new Santa Clara name. But they've been working with me a lot on, like you said, like leveraging. I think up into Reese, like the last couple months, I've just been doing everything myself, right? I'm answering every call, every email, going on appointments, teaching all the classes. And it got to a certain point where I can't, if it's going to grow any bigger than this, I can't do this anymore, right? At this level. So over the last couple months, we've been kind of whittling down like the mentors that we have to a group of 15 mentors spread across those market centers that are bought in and wanting to help other agents. And we've been spending a lot of time training the mentors to do a lot of the things that I was doing, right? So the mentors now are doing business planning, 411, GPS, weekly schedule planning, right? With the agents. So it's allowing me to focus on managing the whole thing. My relationship with the mentors, I mean, a lot of the mentors now, Garrett, came through my coaching program, right? So they know what the expectations are. They know how I work. Myrna Tin, Vershali Modi, Matt Morozic. Even my mentor is a mentor, right? And so we have these agents that have been through it, that know it, that I taught them how to do all of this stuff. And now what I'm starting to do, through help with Eric and Kat, and we're just trying to empower the mentors to have a level of ownership in the business, in the coaching business, as well as Chelsea Vasquez and Violet, who helped me on the admin side, right? That I just want everyone to feel that it's, the name of it is Real Estate Collective, the word collective, right? It's not the Travis Clarke coaching program, right? So I really want everyone to have a sense of ownership in their piece of it, and they can own their little silo. So right now we're creating, every mentor kind of has their own miniature team within our coaching program. So Team Vershali, Team Matt, right? And to where like Vershali is the CEO of her little team, and I'm just training Vershali. That's the type of leverage that we've been creating over the last couple months, and it's starting to play out. So just ownership, connectivity, and people that are okay giving up a little bit of their time to try to help other people be successful.
Well, let's put a bow on this I love beginning of the year. I love goals. I love creating these plans and the excitement around it. Um, what do you have as your big hairy ass goal for 2026?
I want to have 200 agents in the coaching program, and my main goal, two goals, I guess, Garrett. I want to make $1 million GCI. It's just like a target goal I have, and I want to retire in Hawaii, right? So I think all three of those things are connected. If I can get 200 agents in the coaching program, I have a better chance to get $1 million GCI. If I get $1 million GCI for a couple of years, I could sell my business to you and then move to Hawaii, and then we're good to go, right? So, my big plan, I have like a 5-year plan. I want to buy a house in Hawaii and retire there. That's my thing. You've heard me say that a bunch, right? And
ever since I met you,
in order to do that, I have to do a couple things, and those are my goals. And I wake up every morning, I have my coffee in this cup, and I chase Jason Moon. That's what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it. All of the information to get a hold of Travis Clarke is going to be found in the description. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on today. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed watching your growth and watching the ripple effect that it's had in the brokerage as you've continued to grow and develop and help other people grow and develop. Simply Winning. We're powered by gratitude. Check it out. Stay tuned for more fun episodes. And thank you for your time today, Travis.
Thank you very much, Garrett.